Hello and welcome to video lecture number 6 for life science. I don't even know anymore. So we're going to talk about DNA today. And we're going to start off with its name. So its actual name is called deoxyribonucleic acid, or better known as DNA. And how we've talked about DNA before in the sense of that DNA is basically the genetic code for a specific trait in an organism. This organism has to be alive. So viruses usually do not have DNA. They have RNA, which you will talk about in high school because I did not get to it. So I would like to talk about the very basic strand, which is the double helical DNA strand. So we know two things. We know what it looks like, which is the double helix, and we also know its name and where it is in the cell, which is the nucleus, which is probably the most important thing about this. But we're going to dive in a little bit more into what the composition of the deoxyribonucleic acid has, which is made up of nucleotides. And this is a word that will be in your quizzes. A nucleotide has 3 parts, and a DNA strand has many of these nucleotides. So that's kind of how we think of these, is that a nucleotide is a building block of DNA. Now, a nucleotide has 3 parts, which includes the phosphate backbone. And in the lab that you did, that's what the phosphate was talking about, is just the backbone of the ladder. Then we have a sugar. We call this the deoxyribo sugar. Deoxyribo. But we can think of this as just sugar, like the good old regular sugar that you have in candy and things of the sort. And that is tied to a nucleic base. Actually, I do not want to write that there. I want to write that here. Nucleic base. And there are 4 bases that could code for genetic material. So I'm going to stop there. Now, there's 4 possible ways that you could code for DNA. And we use these 4 nucleotides in a very specific way. Think of these nitrogen bases like puzzle pieces. They can only mix with its piece. So the easiest way for me to remember which base goes with which base is as follows. We have adenine, who has a double bond with thymine. That's a hydrogen bond, and that's what we talked about also in the lab. Hydrogen bonds is just a bond that is easily broken by a protein, which is an enzyme, but we don't want to get too into it. All you really need to know is that adenine will pair up with thymine every time. The easiest way to remember this is that apples come from trees. Apples will always come from trees. Adenine will always pair with thymine. The second pair will be guanine, always pairing with cytosine. The way I remember it is that cars, or C, goes in the garage, G. And this is every time guanine and cytosine will always be together. In your quizzes, you will be expected to give me a strand of that, and we will do that here in a second when I erase my beautiful picture that took me forever to make. But basically, these will code specifically for different traits. So if we wanted to code for brown hair, that order of bases will be different for, per se, blonde hair, or any other trait that you would want to code. So we're going to practice one transcription of DNA, and then I will stop there. And I think that's enough for this section. Okay, so this is a sample strand that you might see in your quizzes. And basically, when you get a strand like this, you need to give me the other side of the ladder, which will be the opposite letters that match up. So, like A always matches with thymine, adenine always goes with thymine. So, A would have a pair of thymine. You can do this on a piece of paper. I like doing this on a just scratch sheet of paper so that you can make mistakes with a pencil. And then you just do the whole strand with its pairs. So we know that T goes with A, C goes with G, G goes with C, and so on. T, E. So the answer to this question is what its sample pair would be this bottom line. So on your quizzes, the question will give you this line, and you will have to come up with this second line. And you use this key. So just notice that A could be anywhere on that list, and it could switch over. So really, you just need to look at the first line, and then give me that pair on that second line. This is probably the easiest way of doing that. Now, I'm going to do one more just so we make sure that we understand, and I'm going to make these up. I don't actually know if this is a real set of genes, so and it could show up like this. It doesn't matter how that might be, as long as you give me that corresponding line. So A will always go with thymine, guanine always go with cytosine, adenine goes with thymine, guanine, adenine, 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 and that would be a correct answer for that. So this is all that you're expected to know for tomorrow's quizzes, and then just complete your end of year project, which is already available to you. If you have any questions, please log on to my office hours on Thursday and contact me on email if you need it. But if you have any questions, that would be the fastest way to contact me is through email. And I think that's it. Thank you for watching.